How y'all doing? I like to make this video pretty much of a rant and partial review of the Jurassic World movie that just came out a couple of weeks ago. And before I get started, just to let you know, I'm probably going to most likely head into spoiler territory here, so if you haven't watched it, yeah, turn off the video now and come back if you don't want to be spoiled by it. But figure with the movie now reaching pretty much at the $1 billion mark in worldwide sales, and that's probably faster in the 2 weeks than it did the entire summer for the first Jurassic Park million, which made $900 million. I gotta say it's pretty good. So chances are you've probably already seen it, so I don't have to worry about it too much. But let's go on. So here it is. It's been a couple weeks, and it's while many people enjoyed it based on the sales and all that, I think a lot of people who critique the film and all that, you know, like professional critics you find online, kind of give it above average. Not quite the top, but you know, not 9, you know, probably 8 at best. But if they put it on a number scale, probably 6 through 8 or something like that. Usually about 7. So what I think about it? Well, I enjoyed it, but not as for any scientific accuracy, and I'll explain why. It's more of a monster movie. That's all I'm afraid Jurassic Park's ever going to be after this point. Okay, so you had the first movie, which, despite, you know, all the wonderful science it presented, which was not 100%, mind you, but what it did present was very well done. It educated people on, for instance, tails not dragging, the idea that they're active, or the relationship between dinosaurs to birds. You know, that was all well and fine, but because it was a movie, they took some creative licenses. I even had to explain to my mother a couple of years ago, bear in mind this is a 20-year-old movie on the first Jurassic Park, that the Dilophosaurus did not have that frill or poison glands. There's no evidence to suggest that. We only have the bones. The creative licensing that the guys did was, okay, since we fleshed it out, hey, we just discovered something. And I guess the reason behind that logic is like, pretend snakes don't exist, and like the Jurassic Park, we brought them out of extinction, and we realized, hey, they got venom glands and everything. Even though the bones themselves would not have that. So that's the creative licensing reason they took with that. So, a little bit about the movie. Jurassic World, the original idea of Jurassic Park is now came into full-blown reality through Jurassic World due to some rich-eccentric millionaire buying it engine and now made it reality. It's fully functional and everybody's having a good time. The dinosaurs are there. Everyone, you know, everything's as it should be from the original. And then something goes wrong because while the owner, the guy who bought it, has no big deal about the profits and all that, the stockholders and the company, people working the company do. Because, and you may think that, well, that's kind of cliche and all that. Well, they mentioned that the fact that trying to maintain the park, you know, it keeps costing more and more despite attendance. And they want to get more people to attend, and the only thing they can do that with is either introduce a new dinosaur, which only does so much, you know, because you have celebrities come by, they endorse it so more people will come, or, and this is where they wanted to go, and to create a new modified dinosaur that's bigger and badder and fearsome than others. So they created Indominus Rex, about 10 feet longer than the T-Rex and all that. And unfortunately things get out of hand, and you know, that's the movie premise. The characters, okay, well, there's Chris Pratt, who plays Owen Grady, who's this ex-Navy man who is hired to do research on velociraptors and how they can be trained. Can you imprint them like you can birds or other dogs and all that, and see if you could. He tries to be a pack alpha and see if he could somehow control them to an extent. And while some guys think he's kind of a bit over top, I think he's just about to where he's, you know, I do find him kind of enjoyable, but if they made him any more machismo, he would have tripped over the douchebag territory. But I'm glad, to my opinion, they didn't quite go there. And then you got the female lead, Bryce Dallas Howard's character, Claire, who runs the park, you know, overruns, you know, the operations of everything. I didn't mind her for the most part. I think they could have polished it up a little bit for her. It's more realistic. They made her where she's, you know, I have no problem with the career-driven part, but the idea that she's somehow afraid of children, and that she just sees the operation as trying to maintain control of all of the things, and doesn't see the dinosaurs as living animals. That part I didn't care too much for. I think they could have made a more realistic woman who knows how to do her part of the job, but is understanding of those who, like Owen Grady's area, where he, does experience on raptors, or the other people working in the park. So they said they had to go more stereotype. The characters are almost kind of cliche. Okay, I'm going to say it is cliche, but with her, and here's the critique I do honestly agree with about the character. They kind of push her from where this cold-hearted. Well, not cold-hearted, this strict businesswoman, and she's been kind of tugged back and forth between having a family and all that. Like having kids. She has a conversation with her sister, who sends her two children. Over, and they'll be and Claire will look after them and tour them around the park and all that, but she can't. She's too busy and all that. We see this a lot of times in movies, and I do agree it gets old, but I don't think it takes anything away from it. But it could have polished it up a little bit. The two boys, there's an older one and there's a younger one. I forget their names. The younger one, who is very smart, who, seems to want to calculate everything or memorize all the facts and everything. But they didn't integrate that into the movie like they did Lexus's character, the young girl in the first Jurassic Park. She mentioned she's a hacker. Well, that's foreshadowing because she's going to get them out using the computer and that sort of thing. They didn't do that. He's just a young kid enjoying a park as a young kid should. Then you got the older brother, and I think he's kind of, the fact that he had a girlfriend at home, he had this really cute girlfriend, and then he goes to the park, he's looking at all the other girls. I was like, dude, can you stay faithful a little bit? I'm sure a lot of guys do this, but not very good, I just didn't care much for that. But that's a minor digression. So the Indominus Rex, apparently, being built bigger and badder, also more intelligent. He breaks out, he tricks them, and he gets out. He's now wreaking havoc, and they're trying to get all the people in the park away so they don't get harmed by this guy, and while they're trying to stop him. And in the course of the story, Vincent D'Onofrio, the actor, plays this over-the-top, cheesy villain. I'm going to say this guy is a bit cheesy, the way they present him. He's this guy who wants to use the raptors to weaponize them. Again, this is whole Hollywood cliche and all that. Definitely, this movie is on the B movie territory, and with that, he comes up with this smug attitudes like, it's a way of nature, because it's a struggle to survive and all that. That's the way things are. Why can't we take advantage of that? If raptors don't fully behave, we'll kill those off, and we just breed true bloodlines. I'm not overly exaggerating his part. That's how he sounds. I look upon this and I can't take this guy seriously at all. And that's, again, as a silly movie as this is to begin with. So, I don't want to get too much into it, except with certain details. For the most part, I did enjoy it, because I came in, I wouldn't say with low expectations, but I knew you can't put scientific accuracy in these movies anymore. And there's going to be some debate. In fact, it started already. And it's definitely among paleontologists, rightfully so. Donald Porthero, and I'll put this down below, he wrote for Skeptic Magazine. He's a paleontologist and a geologist. And one of the things that he finds so disappointing in movies, especially in Jurassic Park, which has the opportunity to, could have the opportunity to educate. It's a movie, and they just went bad decision after bad decision of just trying to make more or less a monster movie. And now you could stand there or sit there like, well, it's a movie. Nobody's going to get their facts out of a movie. Actually, here's where Porthero does have a point. They do. They do take parts of the movie, even though it's all fiction, and because of dinosaurs being in existence, unless a movie went to an extreme level, like you're going to make Sharknado, people do take certain things seriously and think that the people who made this movie put all their facts behind it. And so paleontologists, I'm sure if you ask paleontologists in classrooms or when they do lectures and they talk to from all the way from kids to adults, that they are bombarded with questions that they get from a movie but not based on any science. Again, like the Dilophosaur, there's no evidence about the frill or the poison glands. That's creative licensing, but that's even permeated through culture. You look at Monster Hunter, a video game series called Monster Hunter, and you will find Dilophosaurs with the frills on them. It's almost accepted in among the pop culture and everything, even though there's no basis in science for that to have it. Again, Velociraptor, anything like raptors, they just make any sort of similar design that vaguely looks like a Velociraptor from Jurassic Park, and there it is. Some of them don't even make the big claw that's a distinguishing feature of the raptors, the Maniraptorian groups, including Velociraptor, Deinonychus, and Troodon, and all those guys. So with that, so people do try and take certain deals of science from these fictional movies. They don't watch documentaries, and even if they did, some documentaries even don't strive for that type of accuracy. They want to put more entertainment value of that. When I was a kid watching documentaries, it was talking to scientists, showing them what they do, going out in the field, bring them in, digging the bones out of the matrix, and telling them what they discovered about these specimens. But ever since Walking with Dinosaurs came into being, the game has changed. And, which is not bad. I mean, the Walking with Dinosaurs series and Walking with Prehistoric Beasts and Walking with Monsters is very good. But it sort of set the standard, and everything after that derailed from the original intent. If you don't believe me, look up Walking with Dinosaurs, the movie, which came out last year or so. That movie was terrible. You had a series that started off trying to make a computer-generated dinosaur nature show that's based on real science. But it later on went to be a live performance show with dinosaur puppets and all that, with a similar theme. Then the movie came out, which they had some high-end CG, but then they turned it into The Land Before Time, where the dinosaurs will sort of talk to each other. Even though their lips don't move, it's like Milo and Otis. They turn it into that type of drama, just to expand the audience and all that. So it derailed for whatever truth it could. Just for the entertainment value, try to get its profits back, which is what Hollywood does. It's nothing new. So, so Porthero has a point that people do get their things from science, do try to get whatever science effects they can out of movies. Unfortunately, there's not too much, especially in Jurassic Park. Now, in his article, again, I'll post it down below, he mentions that it had an opportunity to choose some real good science. Well, I understand movies have an opportunity to do that, but I don't think Jurassic Park now. We can't put feathers on all the theropods, or even animals we know had feathers. Because at this point, Jurassic Park is so well known after 20 years. It's so ingrained by what we know Jurassic Park looks like, especially from that first movie. To put fully feathered dinosaurs on them, even though they attempted that in part 3 to a degree, people are like, what is this? These are not the dinosaurs I know. This is not threatening. The feathers aren't scary. And let me tell you how bad that kind of logic is. Imagine this hypothetical argument. Imagine in your mind that mammals are extinct, including us. Whatever intelligent beings are out there have no hair on them. The mammals are once living, they're all gone, and we've only found their bones. And for the longest time, when we found the bones, and we have no evidence of what their skin was covered with, if anything, so we just put down bare skin. We may go as far as put scales on it to make it frightening. And so you're a kid, you're looking at all these mammals, you're looking at the big cats, these predators and all that, and the wolves, and you see them drawn without fur. And then all of a sudden, we find through the fossil record that the mammals had fur on these little fine filaments and various, they're thick furs, thin amount of fur like us, but we found that they had hair on them and fur and covering around them. And then the people who are so used to these drawings and these ideas, they're like, I can't look at a lion with this hair on it. It doesn't look threatening at all. You don't think that happened? I actually had a couple of conversations with people when I mentioned that we now know that theropod dinosaurs, the meat-eating dinosaurs, had feathers on them. It's like, I don't like that image. It doesn't seem threatening at all. And never mind the fact that what we find threatening in animals is not what they look like. It's about what they could do to you. Alligators have scales. We don't fear them because they have scales. We fear them because this large predator can sneak up in the water without you knowing it and bite you and kill you instantly. Lions and tigers are feared because they can chase you, outrun you, pounce on you, and you have no strength to overcome it, and it has bones that could crush you. And, you know, it's what the animal could do to you, and then we associate the traits that the animal has. But with dinosaurs, for the longest time, we just, you know, we've only had the bones, very little evidence of what else they had. Okay, we found dinosaur scale imprints. So, but not too many would have feathers. We know some of them did. We had Archaeopteryx, but now we're at the point where, like, we know that a majority of theropods, if not all of them, including other branches of dinosaurs, like ceratopsians, could have certain types of feathers on it, or at least a form of proto-feather to it. And again, so I figured, you know, you could make it interesting, you know, because if you're going to make a movie or a drama about it, you just got to show the animal as fearsome and what it could do, what it could possibly do to you or to the protagonist in the story that's chasing. I also listened to a lot of reviewers who watched this movie and gave their critiques on it. Some are, you know, like Doug Walker, the nostalgia critic. I love his stuff, but he is telling it up and down that Indominus Rex, the genetically modified dinosaur about it, is nothing but a huge, gigantic velociraptor. I'm looking at this thing, it's like, no, it's not. It's a modified theropod, a basal theropod. You just made it big. There's nothing on it that says just velociraptor. And he goes around saying, just look at it. Look, it's a raptor. It's like, no, it's a theropod. It doesn't even have that big claw that distinguishes these, you know, the raptors that we know of. Probably doesn't know. Probably never thought about that. But I won't give him too much grief on that. And there are some people, and some of these reviewers come to show that they don't know much about dinosaurs other than what little they learned as kids. I mean, you think about how much you may know. If you're not a dinosaur aficionado, you probably wouldn't know the diversity of pterosaurs, not pterodactyls. Pterosaurs, that's the group that's all the winged reptiles that lived at the time of dinosaurs. You know, like the pterodactyl is one of them. Pteranodon's probably the only other one you know of where it has a beak and that long, huge cone on the back of its head, 20-foot wingspan. Some of them are just kind of bare head. Others have these very extravagant head crest, you know, head designs and all, like Tapejara. But the ones in the movie, the two main ones they showed Pteranodon, and they showed one that, you know, one reviewer looked at it as like, you know, it looks like it has a T-Rex head on it. Earlier pterosaurs are derived from the basal archosaurs, that includes the crocodilians and includes the dinosaurs as well. And some of them, the more primitive ones will have the land animal traits. So it was not a T-Rex head. Oh, by the way, that's a Dimorphodon. That's an actual known pterosaur. So yes, it does exist. Besides Indominus Rex, all the dinosaurs in that movie existed. You know, that's the gist of this new one. It's like when they created a new one because people were getting bored. And there's another thing people critiqued about that. And when the movie told that the people are getting bored of dinosaurs, they don't look at it any more of an elephant. And they're like, oh, come on, that's bullshit. No, I think that is fully possible in today's age where if the longer this exists, the novelty goes away and we accept them as something that's everyday. Part of the thing that appeals to dinosaurs, and this could go as far as cryptozoology in general, is that there's something unreachable about it. Modern birds, you can be fascinated by birds, but most people are like, well, they're everyday, what's so impressive about them? Even though birds are dinosaurs. But with monsters like dragons and chimeras and werewolves and all that stuff, these are made up and we can only imagine them. Dinosaurs are kind of in between this. There were real animals that existed, but they're extinct. We have no access. We can't see them alive. We can't see what they can do, so we only have our imagination. And our imaginations tend to go to certain expectations besides trying to search for the facts. There's a very important scene in a movie where the head geneticist, played by W.B. Wong, comes about and he tells the main, the main owner of the park that if we had the full DNA of these animals, they would look completely different than today. Than what we have in the park. We had to reconstruct these. We had to put in DNA from other animals, and we created them based on the expectations of the people coming to this park and coming, and everything. We're not seeing how the dinosaurs actually are. This is a very good commentary. It's a very important scene about not only does the movie cover its own ass about these scientific inaccuracies, it also should tell you about yourselves and what you expect dinosaurs to look like. Because you think you're giving all the right answers, but you'd be surprised, even from the 90s, where Jurassic Park came out, we made headways in current research about that changed the view from dinosaurs from that point on. You know, so what can you do about it? Well, you can't go online, but unless you know where you're going online, you're not sure if you're getting the right information. I will recommend a couple books. Here's one I already mentioned before in a previous video, Dinosaur Odyssey by Scott Sampson, who's a paleontologist, and this is very good. It's not too technical. It's good for lay people, and it tells about it goes over a good basis of all the dinosaurs, and then it explains about what a lot of research as far as dinosaur ecology is concerned, about how we still see dinosaurs as something that akin to monster films, because that's how we usually see them in entertainment. But these were animals, and they did live in ecology, just like today, so you follow the same rules. But if you want something that's encyclopedic in a sense of what type of dinosaurs exist nowadays, we have this book, The Princeton Field Guide to Dinosaurs by Gregory S. Paul. I have one other of his books there. He's a paleontologist. He's also an excellent artist. All the artwork in here is done by him, and particularly what he's famous for is dinosaur skeleton reconstructions. You know, and it goes through all these type, just loaded, page on page, of all the different dinosaurs, sauropods, theropods, skeletal reconstructions, based on what we found, at least in the time this book was written. So yes, pick this up if you want to see the diversity of dinosaurs and how crazy and odd they could be, and you'll be surprised if all you know is from a dinosaur plastic playset or a small children's book from years ago, and don't think of how diverse any of the dinosaurs are. Pick this up. It's very good. Some of it's fleshed out, but a lot of them are the bones and bone skeletal drawings, which I think is a better start, just to see what we've all discovered. So Jurassic World, okay, as long as you don't take it seriously, if you're not trying to get your science out of it and take it as a monster film, you're going to be all right. It's not going to wow people like the first movie did. The first movie wowed everybody for various reasons. The new special effects of CGI, that standard that showed living creatures very well. And the first movie still holds up today. I will admit there are scenes in this movie where the CG doesn't quite hold up. And particularly the Gallimimus running across the plains and all that. It didn't quite match up with the backgrounds. The first movie did it better. And they didn't even, not all of the dinosaurs were necessarily accurate, but the mosasaur, that giant ocean reptile that they have eating the great white shark, a bit too large. Again, Porthero mentions that below. They didn't get that big, and there's a limit between animals going back in the ocean and how big they can get. I won't get into details about that. Maybe some other time. But again, they could have chosen other things that, they could have made it smaller and still be impressive. But they wanted it bigger because the end of the movie, not to get, again, spoiler alert, the whole end of the movie, in short, would all kaiju. As in giant monsters like Godzilla attacking each other. It went down that direction. That's what I expected Jurassic Park to happen. You can't use this for scientific accuracy, but if you were interested in dinosaurs, based on this movie, your kids are interested in it, there's a lot of good stuff out there for books and all that can help educate what scientists actually know. At least, especially for adults, you really have to look a little bit better, but there's plenty of good stuff out there. Those two books I mentioned, Dinosaur Odyssey by Scott Sampson and Gregory S. Paul's Princeton Field Guide to Dinosaurs. Both are good for lay people without being too technical, but if technicality is not too much of a problem for you, go to Indiana University Press. If you go to their website, look through their selection of books, they have a whole slew of paleontology stuff out there. Let me see if I got one I can instantly get out. Here's one. I already did a review of this one. It's Jurassic West by John Foster. And let's see, Fernando E. Novas, The Age of Dinosaurs in South America. Hey, there's a lot of good, interesting diversity stuff over there. So yes, check all that stuff out. Watch the movie, be entertained, but don't take it seriously. And just have a good time. It's silly, B-movie silly, and that's all Jurassic Park can be anymore. It won't wow us. We've already seen stuff like this. We're used to the CGI. The premise, the story is all going to be the same. People are going to be attacked by dinosaurs, and dinosaurs are doing all these feats that we kind of know they are incapable of doing. T-Rex is not necessarily a very, very fast runner. Pterosaurs cannot pick us up. I know they look huge, but despite how big they look, they have to be lightweight in order to carry themselves. So picking up something, over 100 pounds would be a difficult feat. But again, don't take it seriously. But look up some of the stuff there. If you want, go to tangential learning, and if you're inspired to look at dinosaurs after this, and go over there. Well, thank you very much for listening to this weird, nearly incomprehensible rant, and you all have a nice evening. Thank you.